it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. I want to say hello and welcome to the Black Financial Channel. That's theblackfinancialchannel.com. So if you are black and want to understand the fundamentals of wealth, then the Black Financial Channel is the place to be. You can also follow the Black Financial Channel on Instagram. And even if you're not black, you're still welcome to come in, but you have to just understand that we are B1 up in this place. B1, hashtag B1. Type it in the chat if you agree. Hashtag B1 means that we are black first. We put our community first. Doesn't mean we hate anybody else. Just means that we put our people first, and that's something important because nobody ever really puts black people first. You know, you got politicians that won't even talk about reparations. Won't even say the word reparations, like it's a cuss word. Like, what's up with that? Won't even talk about 400 years of slavery where you owe us about 13, 14, 15 trillion dollars and act like you can ignore that and still get my vote. Well, you ain't getting my vote. They can have y'all's vote. They ain't get my vote. My vote does not come cheap because I am not your political hoe. So let me just jump right in today. And first of all, I want to say congratulations to Mr. Tyler Perry. Mr. Tyler Perry, a.k.a. Medea, is now officially a billionaire. Give me a yes or no in the chat if you know or you're aware that Tyler Perry is a billionaire. It was just announced by Forbes the other day. So Tyler is now officially a billionaire, another black billionaire. Let's just give a digital round of applause, a digital clap for this brother for having a dream, realizing the dream. And talking about, and building on that dream. I talked to our 10-year-old about Tyler Perry a lot, not because I want her to do exactly what Tyler did, but because, she's into entertainment. She's a singer, dancer, actress. She gets out and does a lot of, she makes up dance routines in the morning and stuff like that. And I told her, I said, one day you're going to go into the entertainment space and I need you to go in as a boss, not a slave. I need you to go in as a captain of your own destiny. I don't want you begging for opportunities. I don't want you having to go have some director saying, well, I'll give you the role if you sell me some WAP, right? I know that's what Cardi B is preaching. The gospel of Cardi B is if you give up that WAP, you can get you a Gucci purse and a trip to McDonald's. But you know what? We don't do that because that we don't even call it a WAP. It's not even a WAP. It's a womb, and that womb is precious. That is where gods and kings come from. So that's why I am not interested in having my little girls growing up being desperate for money. But with that being said, let me dive into Tyler Perry right quick and kind of break down his billionaire status. Hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done it yet. Please hit the thumbs up button. It's very, very important for the algorithm. So let me just kind of talk about this. So Tyler Perry is a guy who's made a lot of money. Billionaire status. Here's what it means to be a billionaire. Being a billionaire does not mean you have $1 billion in the bank. I repeat, being a billionaire does not mean you have $1 billion in the bank. A piece of lint on my lip? Are you kidding me? There's lint on my lip? Yeah. See, y'all ain't paying attention. Y'all need to pay attention. Lint on my lip. Well, maybe the lint's supposed to be there, or maybe it's just a gray hair. I don't know. Anyway, so billionaire status does not mean you have $1 billion in the bank. What billionaire status means is that if you add up all your assets and you subtract your debts, that total equals more than $1 billion, right? That's why I spoke to another billionaire last week by the name of Kanye West, and Kanye became a billionaire also this year. And Forbes announced him to be a billionaire, and they were right. And the way they calculated his billionaire status was based on multiples. They took his revenue or his income, which was mostly from his Adidas deal. His Adidas deal is what took him over the top. That was his Medea. That was his Medea idea in the sense that it made him about $100 million or something. And they did a multiple of about 10 or 11. And they take that annual income and they multiply it by a number. And that number was above $1 billion. They subtract your liabilities. They say, congratulations, Kanye, you're a billionaire. Well, Tyler Perry, I imagine, is in that same boat. He probably is a little more liquid than Kanye, I'm going to guess. But they're both doing well, and I'm really happy for both of them. I will point out a few things about Tyler Perry. Some things good, some things bad. And really, I want to also talk about you in terms of just sort of what that means. I saw somebody on Instagram today who was talking about being a boss and this boss talk in the black community, and how some of the boss talk goes all over the place, and to the point where we job shame. We shame people that have jobs, and you have some people that are bosses that are just terrible bosses that are not good at it. So I want to kind of break down bossism and what that means, and really how that ties into Tyler Perry's billionaire status. If you read his article about his him becoming a billionaire, he talks about ownership. You know, and I don't think I have to explain any of that to you guys, because if you've been following me for more than 2 weeks, you've probably heard me mention ownership at least 47,418 times on this platform. I'm very, very big on ownership. I have constantly reminded you to teach your children about the value of ownership. In our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, our Black Business School for Children, we tell our kids to keep their poise. Poise is P-O-I-S-E. Poise stands for producer, owner, investor, saver, entrepreneur. And also, in fact, 2 weeks ago, I did a lecture on how to turn your child into a millionaire. I'm a finance PhD, so the formula is very simple, very straightforward. Most white people don't know it, but I'm here to share that with you. And basically, it was a matter of spending 1 hour explaining exactly how people become millionaires and billionaires and all these other things. And a lot of it is linked to ownership. Ownership is critical. Ownership is very important. Everybody should own something. Now, here's the thing about ownership, though, and the whole concept of being a boss. Being a boss is a wonderful thing for your self-esteem, but it can be very bad for your ego. It is wonderful for your self-esteem, but it can be very bad for your ego if you're not careful. With great power comes great responsibility. And so when you think about being a boss, I want you to think about something. Some of you may be old enough to remember this. Some of you don't. If you're not old enough to remember this, then actually you're lucky. But there was this show a long time ago called The Dukes of Hazzard. Anybody remember The Dukes of Hazzard? Anybody old enough to remember watching that show on Friday nights where they had the General Lee with that Confederate flag, right? I know just how crazy, how sick we were, right? And the car would come in and they would blow the horn. They would go, remember that? Anybody remember the Dukes of Hazzard? Well, in the Dukes of Hazzard, there was a boss in that show, and he went by the name of Boss Hogg. Boss Hogg was a boss. He was the boss of the whole county. He ran a big business. He was a multimillionaire, and he had plenty of money. And he had this little slave, this little basically a white version of an Uncle Tom by the name of Roscoe P. Coltrane. Roscoe P. Coltrane, right? And I don't know why we thought this show was funny as kids, but we watched it every Friday. A lot of us did. Now here's the thing about Boss Hogg, though. Boss Hogg was a prick. He was a terrible person. He is not the kind of person that deserves that level of power. He's the kind of person that would take in that power and it would feed his ego. He was a Donald Trump kind of person. There's not just one Donald Trump. There's 10 million Donald Trumps out here. Some of you have worked for Donald Trump. He just went by another name. You worked for one of his clones. So boss hogs are not pleasant people. Boss hogs do not make the world better. Boss hogs are the epitome of greedy capitalists. And so when I think about the concept of a boss hog, it makes me think about the power of being a boss and the liberation it gives you and the power of ownership. And so I believe ownership is very, very important, but let's just keep it 100. Let's keep it clear here. Ownership, it matters, and everyone should own something. But because you own something, that does not mean that you have to own everything. That does not mean that you cannot enter a business deal unless you own a piece of whatever's going on. Ownership does not mean that it's the only thing and the most important thing and it's the everything in every business deal. That's not a healthy way to look at life. When you go into every situation where you got to own everything and you got to be the boss all the time, then unfortunately you become a lot like those pastors. Anybody ever seen a pastor whose ego is so big that if you don't let him run the church, he's going to walk out of the church? Like, he don't want to go to church unless he can run the damn church, right? But wait, I thought this was about God. This is supposed to be about, the gospel, and you're leaving the church because you can't be the boss of the church. So that means that your ego is more important than the collective mission of what the church represents. So you have a lot of boss hogs in the world who overinterpret this idea of being a boss to the point where they have to own everything, and if they don't own it, then they pissed off, and they're trying to constantly grab and scrap and everything else. And I can just tell you, I want us to have a community full of owners. I really do. But I don't think I want to have a community full of bosses. Because if you have a community full of bosses, especially boss hogs, where half of them are boss hogs, then what you're going to have is you're going to have just some really ugly manifestations of really disgusting capitalism, in which everybody wants to own everything and everybody's constantly jockeying for position and pushing people out, undercutting people, taking people down, stealing from people or whatever, because you got 10 million but you need 10 million in one. No, that's not to me. That's not when I see the mountaintop and I see my vision of Black America for the year 2070. Project 2070 is where we believe Black people will be the most economically literate, the most economically sophisticated group of people in the world. We will be to the world what the Jewish community is right now in terms of ownership and power. When I visualize that, I don't visualize a collective boss hog mentality, because nobody wants to work with a hog. And as Self-Made says, hogs get slaughtered sooner or later. That's 100% abundantly clear and true. That is completely true. In China, they have a saying that the fattest pig always gets slaughtered. That's a saying that they use, and apparently billions of people, or a billion people, know this saying because that's what they teach the kids in school. So that's what teaches them to understand the importance of being able to work with a group, as opposed to always thinking about me, mine, and owning, and I need to be the boss, I need to be the leader. If I can't be the leader, then I'm gonna walk away. Well, a lot of times you're gonna walk away from good opportunities if you feel like you always got to be the center of attention. If you feel like you always have to be the alpha and you can never sit back and let somebody else take the lead, then you will never have the ability to build true wealth and true power and true peace of mind in life, because you can't work with anybody, right? So Tyler Perry, now let me give Tyler credit though. I've only met Tyler once, and but when I did talk to him on the phone, he was very collegial. I really liked talking to him for the 15 minutes or so we were on the phone. And one time I reached out to him, I texted him, I said, I'm in town, can I do a tour of your studio? And so he was out of town, but he arranged for his number 2 guy to give me and my goddaughter, who's now deep in the entertainment industry, who eventually actually worked at Tyler Perry Studios. I didn't even know that they had struck up a deal. And he showed us around the whole studio for 2 hours. And this was the old studio. And I was super impressed, super inspired. I got a real sense that he has a tremendous respect for Black Hollywood history and what that represents. I love the fact that he resurrected a lot of the Black actors and actresses who have been forgotten by society, who weren't getting roles in Hollywood anymore. I think that's wonderful. You know, I mean, Cicely Tyson alone, that what he did with Cicely Tyson alone was absolutely magical. And I think he deserves credit for that. Now, you know me, though. I got to give constructive critique here. And so one of the things I will say, though, is that there is a little bit of a critique you can throw in there on a couple of levels. One is the elephant in the room, or the hog in the room, or whatever, and that's Medea. That's, the fact that I don't think it would be unreasonable to say that the vast majority of that billion in wealth was built from Tyler Perry putting on that dress and doing the Medea role. And I will say this, when I did talk to Tyler, I remember he said that he didn't like playing the Medea character. He said he was going to eventually end it. And he said that publicly, so I'm not revealing any private information or anything like that. But it's been 6 years and Medea's still moving. I don't know. I don't know when the last Medea movie was. Y'all can tell me, but because I ain't gonna lie, I don't watch any of the Medea movies. I just can't. It's not my thing. But it might be somebody else's thing, and I'm not knocking that. But I think that you have to juxtapose that against the history of the feminization of the Black man in America and the way Hollywood has always wanted to portray Black men in a specific way. So there should be maybe a little asterisk next to that billionaire status to kind of say, maybe there's some reparations in order to kind of make up for the sins of the original sin of Medea, meaning that I would love to see whatever Tyler Perry's going to do to kind of make up for the fact that he was able to go through a tunnel, through a pathway that many of us cannot go and many of us would not go. Masculine Black men will not go. You could offer me $100 trillion and I'm not going to go and spend 10 years putting on a dress. And so I think that the fact that he earned that billionaire status by doing the thing that so many people, would not be willing to do, it does mean that, that some of that has to be corrected. It doesn't mean Tyler Perry needs to be thrown into the trash. I like, again, going to the collegial thing. One thing I've always liked about the way Tyler Perry carried himself is I noticed that even when he was attacked and criticized by others, he didn't really retaliate. You know, when Spike Lee went really hard on Tyler Perry and was really nasty toward him, and I thought I liked Spike, but I felt like Spike was going a little bit overboard with it. But Tyler got pissed. I could tell he was mad about it, but he never really said anything negative about Spike, and eventually invited Spike in to when he opened up the new studio. And I like that. And that to me is a reflection of his collegiality, that he understands something that I think you should understand too, is that you tend to have a better ability to build wealth and a better opportunity to be a boss if you're able to maintain relationships and work well with others. Right? If you can gain that ability to work well with others, then you're not trying to go fly solo. You roll in deep in everything that you do. Even animals understand that the ability to operate within the context of a group makes you stronger. That's why animals run in packs and herds. Whether it's geese or buffalo, chickens or elephants, they roll in herds. And elephants never went to college. They never read Powernomics. They never heard a speech from Francis Cress Welsing. They just know naturally and instinctively that if you can operate within a group, you're going to be stronger that way. So the fact that Tyler was able to get all these people to come in and celebrate his new studio, and some of these people were former enemies and things like that, I just think that was masterful, and I give him tremendous respect for that. Now, one last little constructive critique I'll throw out there in terms of something that I think Tyler should really pay attention to, if he isn't doing this already, is that there's a little bit, I think there's a perception that there's a little bit of diva-itis in terms of how Tyler kind of does things. Like every now and then I'll see Tyler do some charity where he'll go, a lady's house will get burned down and he'll pay for the lady to get a new roof or a new house. And then it'll go out there into the public. Like it'll be all over the news, like in every media outlet, right? And you should just know, like, that doesn't happen by accident. It's not like the reporter snuck and broke into the files to find out that you bought that lady's house. No, there's a publicist. There's a publicist making 1,000 phone calls saying, well, Tyler Perry bought a house. Tyler Perry gave her $10,000. Tyler Perry paid for the little boy to get home, right? And so what they do is then, it does become a thing. Like it's nice and it's charitable and all that. But the darker side of that is it does kind of feed into some sort of idea, or it makes you wonder. If you're a thinker, I'm a thinker, I process things, so it makes me wonder, like, why are we telling the whole world what we did, right? We did the charity, that's a good thing, but why must the whole world know? Okay, on one hand, it makes sense in the sense that when you become wealthy, people naturally hate you. Like, if you ever want to get a big pile of haters, just go get rich and become successful. People will just hate you because you're not broke. They will hate you because you're not struggling like them. They will hate you because you woke up with a smile on your face. That's the world we live in. So maybe doing things for the world helps alleviate some of that, which is a good business strategy. But then there's the other side to say, are we hunting for attention? Like, is there something diva-ish there that's saying I need to be the center of everything, which is a very dangerous strategy because it's easy to take down one man. It's easy to take down one man, right? It's hard to take down an idea, but it's easy to take down one man. So and then when you look at the films, I remember when Tyler Perry did that post on Facebook or Instagram where he was showing everybody how much work ethic he had, and one of the things that he said that was really interesting was basically he showed his writer's room. Anybody remember that? Tell me if you remember when Tyler Perry put the screenshot of his writer's room on Instagram, and he said these are all the people that are in my writer's room, and it was just him, right? And if you look at Tyler Perry's credits, you'll see, produced by Tyler Perry, written by Tyler Perry, executive produced by Tyler Perry, the black female #1, Tyler Perry, written by Tyler Perry, blah, 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 Tyler Perry, Tyler Perry, Tyler Perry, Tyler Perry, Tyler Perry, Tyler Perry. Aren't we celebrating ourselves today? Right? I remember thinking, okay, is there any room for anybody else up there besides you? Or is that all we got? It does, and I think it's great in the sense that it shows a great work ethic. I understand it also because sometimes you just get tired of waiting on people and you just want to get it done yourself. But if you do a play or a film that has 4 black women in the film and you're writing the parts for every single black woman in the film, then that's not, if I'm a black woman, I'm going to be a little bit concerned about that. You can't be every woman and every man and Medea and the director, producer, owner, writer, and all that at the same time. That's a little bit of an issue. And it's also reflected in the fact that I don't really see a lot of other Tyler Perrys coming out of Tyler Perry Studios. I think most of us would have a hard time naming any well-known writer, director, or whatever, right? Or boss that has come out of Tyler Perry Studios that will say, I was mentored by Tyler. He brought me up through the chain of command. I waited my turn. Now I'm a boss over here because he made me a boss over there, right? We got 14, 20, 30 bosses in training, and all these bosses are being deployed so we can have a world full of Black-owned businesses that are doing amazing things. I don't see that so much. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying I don't see it. I have not really seen a lot of it. Ava DuVernay, I've seen it. I know people. I actually know people who've worked for Tyler. I've known who have also worked for Ava DuVernay, and they've pointed out a little bit of the contrast that Ava, tends to be. I don't agree with Ava on everything. I challenged Ava a little bit on the open letter she wrote about Biden and Kamala Harris, but Ava does have that reputation of really elevating other people, and I would just like to see more of that from Tyler Perry Studios. But beyond that, though, I mean, those are my only critiques. I think overall you can learn a lot from watching, how he moves, how he built his ownership, how he developed his empire. I think that would help a lot of us, especially those of us who are in the entertainment space, but even outside the entertainment space. There's just a lot there, but I would say also remember that ownership does not mean you have to own everything. There are projects I get involved with. I own things, right? Like owning something is important. Owning everything is impossible, nor is it healthy, right? You don't need to own everything, but I own something, right? It's kind of like dating a woman, right? You got some men that are looking for one good woman, and some guys may be looking for 2 or 3 good women, right? We know that that's out there, but then you got guys that need to have every woman. And having every woman is doesn't just mean you're a greedy person, but it also means that you're creating a lot of stress and headaches for yourself, and you're trying to do something that's kind of unreasonable. So be a boss, but don't be a boss hog. Like there are things that I own, and then there are projects I participate in where I don't need any ownership at all. I'll give you an example. I'm doing a podcast it took me years for anybody to actually convinced me to do a podcast for them because I didn't want to work for white people. And when you become a boss and you do it at an okay level, you are able to pay yourself at a level that nobody can really hire you anymore. Like people can't hire me. The universities could call me and offer me the best deal possible, and they couldn't even afford to get me on the phone for 20 minutes. Seriously. And so it's a gift and a curse. But the thing is, when I'm doing this podcast for Push Black, there wasn't a conversation where I said, okay, I need to own a piece of Push Black, or I need to own this and I need to own that. It was a partnership. It was sort of like, okay, you own what you own. I own what I own. As long as you don't mess with what I got, I won't mess with what you got. But we both got a little something, so let's come together and let's do something special, right? And let's do something that will allow us both to, go slaughter the cow, cut the cow in half. You take your piece of the cow, I'll take my piece of the cow, and then we both get to own our little space. So being a boss, just understand that's a nuanced conversation. It's not one that should be taken to extremes. Being a boss also takes a lot of responsibility. You have to think differently to be the boss. Also, the biggest thing about being a boss or a leader that's really important. Remember Beyonce was saying, I'm a boss, I'm a leader, I pull up in my 2-seater, right? So if you want to be a boss and a leader and pull up in your 2-seater, the biggest thing about being a boss and a leader, in my opinion, is that I think that you have to understand that leadership really is service. If you never learn that leadership is service, I don't think you're going to be a very good leader because the people that work with you are not going to like you. They're going to stab you in the back and they're going to try to come kill you. So leadership is ultimately service, which means the ability to listen to others, showing respect to others, and doing your best to maintain healthy relationships. And so when I figured that out, I started putting a lot of energy into learning how to get better at maintaining my relationships because ain't none of us perfect. All of us have things to work on. Tyler Perry's got things he's going to be working on in his life. I got things I got to work on, and I'm sure you got things to work on, but keep working to make yourself into a better person. And then also remember, when it comes to leadership or being a boss or being an owner, there are books out there you can read. There are templates you can follow. There are instructions you can create for yourself, but you have to get out of everything you've been taught up until this point because there's nothing about that educational system that's going to train you to be a boss or a leader. That's just not in their interest. Okay, guys? So I'm going to go. I hope this conversation helped you. Congratulations to my man, Tyler Perry. Maybe one one day we'll talk again. Maybe not. It's totally fine either way. I ain't watching no Medea movies, but I wish you the very best, and I hope that this was all taken with the spirit with which it was intended. It was not intended as an attack or a diss. It was intended to celebrate his success without at the same time acting like anybody's perfect, because ain't none of us perfect out here. So hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Also, if you haven't come over to the Black Business School and learn some of the things that we have in place to show you sort of the mechanisms of ownership and investing and everything else, feel free to go over there. In fact, if you haven't bought your first share of stock yet, or if you want to just get better understanding stock markets in general, we have a great free training that you can get at firstshareofstock.com. That's firstshareofstock.com. Also, if you want a free copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, A New Paradigm for Black America, you can have it for free. It's a total giveaway. Just go to allblackeconomics.com. That's allblackeconomics.com. I'm out of here, guys. Thank you for listening. Have a good day. See you soon. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down.